Hello and welcome to our week of celebrating Indie Author Week UK in a series of videos that we call Wine and a Book. Good evening and thank you for joining us for our fifth Wine and a Book. And cheers. And this is 2023. And tonight I am talking about my little book, Freckles and Friends, which was written and it was published in 2018 as a result of a request from a friend of mine, Jane, who was intrigued by all the stories that I'd been writing on Facebook about our little chum Freckles, who was a fledgling robin who we met a few years before that when we were having lunch in the garden eating our bread and cheese, and this fledgling robin with freckles on his tummy came and joined us as we had our lunch and pecked around at the crumbs of bread. And we became very friendly with Freckles. Well, Freckles became very friendly with us, and we invested in some bird seed to feed him, and he would come and he would share his lunch with us. And our neighbour's cat, Spike, who was an elderly ex-mouser and bird killer, but all she had left were memories, and she would stay out of the sun in the undergrowth next to the table where we had lunch, and Freckles would tease her, taunt her, to make sure she was safe. And then when he realised that she was pretty much safe, the glint returned in her eyes but not into her paws, he used the fact that she didn't like the other cats to be safe in our garden. And he would sit above us and practice his song, very, 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 very quietly, gently singing his song. And then at 2 weeks old, or 2 weeks out of the nest, more than 2 weeks old, he introduced his girlfriend. And so all these stories I was putting up on Facebook on virtually a daily basis, and Jane said, "You've got to turn it into a book." And the book is stories of garden wildlife in the whole, because not only do we have, we've now got Franklin, Freckles' grandson, who has a youngster who came and introduced himself to us, or herself, with spatterings of red on the breast. We've yet to name that one. Frank was Freckles' son. Franklin is Frank's son. So we've now got to come up with another name, but as yet to be identified. So we published this ourselves, and it has been sold through the Sussex Wildlife Trust and in other outlets, and also on our website. The story I'm reading is of some frogs that took up residence in a wheelbarrow. Frogs in the wheelbarrow. A couple of years ago, Amanda was given an upright wheelbarrow as a birthday present. It was green plastic and shaped a bit like a water butt. She found it very useful, particularly for coping with the raspberry canes, which tend to fight back and tumble out of normal wheelbarrows. She made sure to be tidy and empty it, covering it with a blue tarpaulin. At least she did that the first year. The next year she was very busy with other things than the garden, and was not so well behaved with the wheelbarrow. One day she used it to clear some dead raspberry canes, and then it started to rain. It wasn't heavy rain, so she decided not to bother with the tarpaulin. This was silly. It didn't stop raining like she thought it would. It rained harder and harder and harder. She looked out at the wheelbarrow from the house and frowned. Now what should she do? What she should have done was empty it the next day, but it was still raining. So she put off emptying it until it was better weather. It was a very wet and windy early summer. A few days later, the wind blew a slab of someone's newspaper into the water next to the raspberry canes. She looked at it and sighed. Yuck, she said, but still it rained. When the rain finally stopped, she went to the wheelbarrow to empty it, but got a bit of a surprise. On the newspaper sat a very smart and large frog. He was using it as a lily leaf. "Oh, rats," said Amanda, and she said, "Now what do I do?" Again she did nothing, but every day she checked on the frog to see if he had realised the newspaper wasn't a good lily leaf. Every day he was either on top of or hiding under or next to the newspaper, which was coping amazingly well. She looked into his eyes and couldn't bring herself to make him homeless. After a few days, he was joined by another frog. It was now getting embarrassing to have frogs in a wheelbarrow with dead raspberry stalks and newspaper in it. Something had to be done. Simon and Amanda decided to get the frogs proper lily leaves to sit on and went to talk to a man who sold special water plants. The wheelbarrow pond was in a shadow of the house, so did not get much sunlight. The man said his water lilies wouldn't like being in the shade. He suggested water hyacinth and water lettuce. These aren't good plants for proper ponds as they grow too quickly and spread too far, but a wheelbarrow pond isn't a proper pond and there was no risk of them spreading. Simon and Amanda got home all pleased to be giving the frogs a better life. Amanda scooped the newspaper out of the water. With the weight of 2 frogs, as well as the power of their legs as they jumped, the newspaper had by now started to sink. She carefully put the water hyacinth in at the back and the shorter lettuce plants at the front, watched by 2 aghast frogs. For 4 days they then disappeared. There was no sign of them at all. Then, very slowly, they returned, trying out various methods of dealing with the intruder plants. After about a week, one of them trialled sitting on a lettuce leaf. This appeared to work, as from then on, either or both were on their preferred perch. It seems likely that they could work at catching proper flies from there, rather than just the mosquito larvae that they had been dining on until then. So, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to another evening with you tomorrow when it will be another small book. Cheers, and I hope you have sunshine with you.